So before I get my sketchbook tour started, I thought I'd introduce myself a little bit. So I'm Elanor. I am a recent college graduate. I studied graphic design and illustration, and I just thought it would be fun to flip through some of the sketchbooks that I had throughout my years at school, and kind of show like what kind of stuff that we did throughout the experience, I guess. Um, and I just thought it would be fun to like share like what a sketchbook looks like of someone that isn't like a character designer or um, doing video game design or anything like that. I do a lot more like graphic design specific illustrations in my more personal sketchbooks. So just grab a snack, maybe grab a drink, and just come chill with me and look at my sketchbooks. So this is the first sketchbook I did while I was in college. You can see it's kind of beat up because I've probably had to lug it around in my backpack probably the longest. In this first like semester, we had a lot more like fundamentals and like I had a drawing 101 class. So the first pages are kind of a little bit boring, not super exciting. Just because we're doing exercises to kind of learn how to draw like 3D shapes. So we're given like a base like flat shape that we had to start out with, and then we had to try to draw as many different views of that as a 3D object. So not the most exciting, but I think it was really good to learn how to draw perspective from imagination and just kind of figure it out on your own. Definitely a little bit of trial and error. I'm probably a little bit better at it now than I was when I started, but it was still kind of fun. I really liked a challenge, so I didn't mind the mind bending kind of thinking stuff. And then I think that was all from the first week. So this is like probably the second week we started drawing like actual objects that we had like with us. So like I had a water bottle and my tablet like holder for my pen, and like a headphone case. And so this section is from my 2D design. We were doing, I think it was called No-Tan. So we had to create an illustration that would have pieces of it that were flipped. So in that class, we also worked only with traditional mediums, so like paint or paper or pencil, that kind of stuff. So we really had to think about like all the little details that we would have to physically do too. I might scooch this over so you can see more in the middle. So in the Drawing 101 class, we were doing like an object that we had to draw multiple views of. I don't remember if this one might have been in class. And then we had to do some on our own. This is a little bin, and I think I had it in my room at the time. And yeah, just multiple views of different objects. This is one of my favorites from my freshman year, because I like to draw buildings and that kind of stuff. So we had to do a 1-point perspective and try to draw, I think, a certain amount of like rectangles in there to try to mess around with the perspective. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And then this is our first like kind of building drawing. I believe we were able to just kind of make up our own like building fronts, and so we had to use like a 2-point perspective for that, and kind of was fun learning how to draw your own like grid for that. These next drawings, I don't remember what class this was for. It might have been 2D design still. Yeah, I think it was 2D design, because we were going to be doing a project where we had to cut out paper to look like a drawing. So I was wanting to go for like a snake. was going to try to do a different animal, but I was not wanting to make it too complicated because it was still kind of beginning of art school and I didn't really know what I was doing. So this is what I ended up doing. I've added like little embellishments since like finishing that project, but the final piece was actually cut out with black and gray and white paper. And maybe I will insert photos if I can of the final pieces. This was, we had to draw the interior of a room. I don't remember if this is the one that we did in class, but yeah, just learning how to draw a 2-point perspective, but inside a room instead of outside of the room was definitely a challenge. I think something that our class kind of was struggling with was drawing ellipses, so that was difficult. I think we had a full-on project later that we had to do, like a full-on landscape with ellipses. So this was more 2D design stuff. So this is kind of the stuff that I'm used to drawing. I think we were doing like had to make our own icon kind of image, kind of like something that would be like a social media icon kind of thing. This is another in-room drawing. Yeah, I can definitely tell that the ellipsis on this lamp looks kind of weird, but I think for the most part I just really enjoy doing that kind of stuff, so it wasn't super difficult. I think, yeah, there's some like random like bits in here that look a little bit off, but I think I did pretty good for still not really knowing what I was doing. I believe this is when we are starting to get into doing more rendered stuff, so like working with shading and sort of light and shadow in our drawings, which was kind of new to me. I'm used to doing a lot of line work kind of stuff, so that was definitely a challenge. So this was the first illustration we had to do. I think this was for homework. You can see I had random notes for it. I don't think I still have the illustration that I did second after this illustration was turned in, because they had a good amount of critiques, because I think that's where some of my notes came from. But my second drawing was a lot better, and I will try to insert it here too to show like how much improvement there was between the 2 weeks. Because I think it's funny, because I remember being so proud of this when I got my critiques. I'm like, okay, I'm not as good as I thought I was. And then I came back with the having taken the notes that I did, and being super proud of the next one that I did because it was so much better. Yeah, so this is me messing around with some other layouts for the second attempt. I don't think I even had the mug that I ended up drawing for this one. But you can see, like, just in that like little session of like the critiques, there's so much more improvement from the first one to even just these thumbnail sketches. This is one of my favorite pieces. I'll have to insert the final piece because it's fully like, it's a traditional like line work. We had to like just use lines to make an image, and that is something that I was kind of used to before college, so I had a lot of fun creating this. Yeah, so this was kind of a fun, like, or not, it was a great way to learn how to like know how to draw ellipses based on like where your eye would be. So like this would be eye level, and so this is above eye level, and then this is below eye level. And so that was kind of a good way to visualize how ellipses change when your view changes. And then we had to kind of learn how to draw too with like as it goes off into the distance, or like curves and that kind of thing. And I believe this was for a car. I'm not sure if I did it right because I'm still kind of confused on that one, but then this was the start of like kind of getting ideas for, we had to draw a landscape with ellipses being kind of the main focus. So like doing cones or doing like tubes and that kind of thing. I think my final thumbnail might have been digital, so if I can, I will insert it here. He also told us how to like take away from ellipse and make kind of like cutting or like cutting out of stuff, that kind of thing. This is one of my ideas. I think this one I did during class and I wasn't super happy with it. I'm still not like in love with it, but I think it's kind of fun. It really liked this kind of sketch that I did along the edge. So I don't know if I had the final one in here. I guess not. Or maybe it's later. So for 2D design, we did have to do, we were going to design like a big illustration that was like a ticket for a movie. And we got to pick the movie and everything. And so one of my favorite movies is Knives Out. So I decided to do that. Did the hand lettering myself. And I can maybe add a picture of what the final one looked like as well. Because we had to do it with a single color as a painting. Yeah. This was the, I think this must be the final one of the ellipsis like drawing that we did. I'm kind of wishing I didn't do, I didn't ink in the edges, but I don't remember if that was required. I think my thumbnail was actually better, but I don't know, I had a lot of fun doing it. It was kind of an interesting topic and it was difficult. The ellipsis, I think, eventually brought us to doing like animals and that kind of thing. And because like with like these animals that I have on this page, like they do use ellipses in like the stomach area and like where it's more round, which this was my first time drawing animals, so I am like really impressed that these turned out as good as they did. These were some more animals. I don't remember if these were ones that we did in class. They might have been, because I know we did have to draw some on our own after we started. This is going back to the 2D design class. We had to do a royal seal or book plate. I wrote it down. So we had to use our like initials, and I think I actually kind of did it wrong because I think he wanted it to be more of a royal seal than a book. actually I call him Freckles. I normally call him Freddy. I think I ended up changing it at some point to Freddy. This was the final design for the toy of Freckles or Freddy, the frog. We had to do a 360 view of our characters for the assignment and add a little bit of color. Fine. I don't remember if this is from still the first semester. I think it probably is. We started doing hands a little bit at the end of Drawing 101. So this was just kind of trying to learn the skeleton structure of a hand, which still struggle a little bit with, but so these are some hands that I did, I believe, just for homework. We had to draw like a certain amount of poses because we actually took some reference photos during class of each other's hands. I believe this was my friend and I posing together. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I didn't draw a lot of hands before college. I think I did a little bit in like middle school, maybe a tiny bit in high school, but yeah, I didn't really draw a lot of hands before that. Oh, okay, this is still the first semester, definitely. Because we did, I don't remember if it was logo design or something like that. This is actually, so my sister is also an artist and she has a graphic novel that she wants to put together. So there was she was having me help her do some hand lettering for like different like stores and stuff that would be in that graphic novel or webcomic. And so she had a hot dog shack, and so I decided to kind of just use that name. None of these are the exact same logo that I did for her. And I think I ended up with something like this or this for the final. Yeah. More hands, of course. Wouldn't be art school without drawing hands. I redrew the one that I posed with my friend, I believe. And then holding some leafy stuff. Yeah. And then, of course, more Freddy. I think this was more for the poster design for the video game. Kind of starting to refine that idea. I believe this is kind of what I ended up with. And then we did more hands. I think this is kind of refining hands a little bit more. Working on shading, that kind of stuff. I believe we were required to use Faber-Castell, like grays and blacks and that kind of thing. Yeah. And then we started working on heads. This might have been the next semester because we had figure drawing semester after Drawing 101. Still struggle a bit with heads. They're a little bit funky, but nope, this was still the first semester because this is 2D design. We were designing, I think this was for the final project, soda can labels, which my final design was digital, so I will insert a photo of that if I can find it. This was actually in the figure drawing class because I know these are very light, but yeah, we were starting to work on like the form of human body. I definitely noticed that my torsos were very long. I think because we were still kind of on our own for that first assignment because he was probably just trying to see where we're at. And getting a little bit better. I think working from reference photos really helps me make sure that I've got the right proportions for torsos. I'm still like a little bit long because I feel like his legs look really short to the upper body on that one. Yeah, I'm just working on more figure drawings. I think for the first assignment we had to do 6 pages of 6 figures, so a lot of people. It was very difficult for someone that doesn't draw people, but I think I did pretty well. I was really excited with how well I did because I was kind of nervous about taking figure drawing. Yeah, lots and lots of poses. I think this is one of my favorites. I just really liked her outfit. I love the pose. It was just really cute. Yeah. Had to do a little bit of hand lettering in there if you can see it. Yeah. And I think during that semester we also had color theory, which I could probably show you guys some color theory stuff too at some point. But we had to do like a bunch of different patterns just using black, white, and gray. I think we had to use a certain amount of different shades of gray, but I'm not sure. In figure drawing, we also went into skull anatomy, so we had to do different views of the human skull. Although that was quite the challenge, but I think I did pretty well for a first time. 3/4 views always like kill me. They are so difficult, but I think I did pretty well. Yeah. I believe this figure drawing session, our instructor was actually posing for us because I don't remember if he just couldn't get a model that session or just decided not to schedule a model or something. I don't know. Sometimes we used like references online or we would use physical models. But yeah, so he just got up there and started posing for us. I think this person I think was one of my classmates for that, probably the same session. And yeah, more the same. A couple of my classmates were having a lightsaber battle. And I think at some point we did where they would pose and then we were drawing it, but we also had to try to guess what they were doing. So I think that might have been like all of this. Somebody was using the Force. And then this might have been just homework, working on like kind of more athletic poses. There you go. That kind of thing. Yeah, I think our instructor gave us a website where we would, it had a bunch of 3D models like in one like view, and so we had to just pick random models from there to draw. It was kind of fun. Yeah, I have a giant sketchbook that has more like figures and stuff from that class because we did have to use a giant sketchbook. But for the most part, I prefer drawing a little bit smaller than that. But I could always show those too if you guys are interested. Yeah, just working with light and shadow, and I don't remember if we were required to use the markers or not, or if I just decided to just use markers for no reason. Yeah, I think that is the end of this sketchbook. So this was actually during the same semester as the first sketchbook, but this was kind of sketchbook 2, kind of not. There's not a ton of drawings in here because we just had to do like a few drawings on tan paper, mainly for light and shadow, and just kind of using the paper to our advantage. So we just did pretty much just hands in here. Yep, nothing super exciting. I'm really proud of the hands that I drew in here. I think they turned out really good. And that's it. It's very short. This is sketchbook number 3. I believe this is still a continuation of figure drawing, that kind of stuff. I believe we also had a 3D design class, which was basically a sculpting class. So for 3D design, we were working on like sketching animals that we wanted to sculpt, I think. Something like that. Where this actually, I think, was still from figure drawing. We were doing some animals. And I think some of the sketches that I did kind of reused for references for 3D design at a later assignment. Yeah, this was something that I ended up sculpting. It was an interesting concept. And yeah, it's pretty big. But this was, I believe, figure drawing, and we were getting into lighting and shading on people. Still doing like figures and stuff, but yeah, I love drawing eyes, so this is kind of one of my favorites. And we were figuring out how to do lighting and shading on like the facial features specifically. And then this was prepping for an assignment where we had to do a self-portrait and mix it with an animal of our choosing. Originally it was like I wanted to do a rhino, and I kind of wanted to do a lot of eyes, so I decided to do a spider. So this is actually the final piece that I ended up with. Fully pencil sketched self-portrait of me and a spider. I love it so much. I think, I mean, my darks could be a little bit darker, but other than that, I'm super happy with the result, because I had not done a lot of portraiture at all, so this was really exciting for me. This was in figure drawing. We were drawing motion, so we had basically a video that had keyframes that we had to stop and draw, and our instructor wanted us to draw each pose like on the same page, like as if it was like stop motion or something. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically each pose I did a different color, so kind of to help. or the cops for dinner. So kind of a interesting concept. So I wanted to do the leg of lamb with the stuff that they said that she cooked it with, but have a puddle of blood underneath it, so it's like you don't know if it's coming from the leg of lamb or if it's from something else. Yeah, I think these were just some personal sketches, just messing around with I think these were me trying to figure out how I want to draw faces, and if I want to try doing more like simplified faces for I don't know, like personal icons or that kind of stuff. And these were just from like random references online from Pinterest, that kind of thing. Had some fun bird drawings. Just I think this was in my spare time or like in free time during class. Probably some notes for an assignment. Yep. So we had to do a bunch of cones, doing kind of more storytelling illustrations, but we kind of started out with kind of the 3D shapes and stuff. You can tell there's a lot of improvement from the first semester, from the very first sketchbook. Definitely a lot more confident in my sketches. Yeah, more cylinders. This one was kind of hard. I feel like I'm not sure that all of them really worked, but it's okay. Some pyramids. Nothing super exciting. I think this assignment was we needed to create an image where we had a bunch of like our 3D shapes that we had practiced drawing kind of intersecting and that kind of thing, which I really enjoyed. That was a lot of fun. More 2-point perspective. I think he wanted us to mess around with having the perspective be lower or higher than like the object that we were drawing. Yeah. And then he also wanted like to have a hollow version so we could see into what it was that we were drawing. Just the outside. And then we had to this was just some notes for an assignment, but we were doing 3 different views of like a room in that class as well, and it had to be the same room. So I did kind of a viney, so a hallway that had like vines and stuff. I don't think it was based off of anything specific, but we kind of wanted the illustration to be kind of like an Alice in Wonderland kind of feel, with like the tiny door and the vines and a kind of just funky aesthetic, I guess. But yeah, I didn't realize I had to draw 3 of the same hallway until like I was starting to work on this one and had reread the assignment and realized like, oh dang it, I have to draw all of those vines that I drew in the first one in 3 different drawings. But thankfully for the third one I was able to kind of make it so I didn't really have to draw them. I just had that single one at the top here. And then I think for that same class we were illustrating a room that belonged to a specific like story character. So like Dracula. I was originally going to do Dracula and then I was having a hard time with that one. I was really struggling with it. So then I ended up doing Sherlock Holmes, and I did it in watercolor. So I will insert a picture of it. I don't know if I have any sketches of it in here. Yeah, doesn't really look like it. I have kind of a thumbnail of it, but I will insert something. And then this was for, I think, the same class. We were designing like a character or something based off of an object that he had brought to class. So I was messing around with a few ideas of, because I think I had pulled a hole punch. So at first I was like, it kind of looks like a cowboy ready to do a shoot off. So then I sketched that. Then I also thought it kind of looked like a fish, and I think I might have ended up with something like this, or I know there was kind of like a bunny character that I did where it was kind of steampunk with kind of a mask that looked like, yeah, so I did kind of a steampunk apocalyptic kind of character that had this mask that wore. I didn't really fully think of like a full-on story for it, but yeah, I just liked the idea of like having this kind of cool mask, and I love steampunk, so I thought it would be kind of interesting to try to incorporate somehow a steampunk feel to the character design. Yeah, these were some very faint sketches, but sketches for that. But I think I also tried some other objects when I was at home, which we had this giant potato masher. So I liked the kind of like wavy lines of the potato masher. So it was like, it could be a funky like alligator or kind of, yeah. I liked the idea of like a mask again. Yeah. And this was me messing around with more kind of similar sort of like shapes of different things. Like this was like a binder clip, so like making it into faces, and I love this one. I love the face of this guy. I was thinking about having like a, for the character with the bunny mask, having them have like a sentient backpack character, but it got a little complicated to try to figure that out. This is a more fleshed out version of, or I guess not a more fleshed out version, just me messing around with the mask idea, because I wanted it to be kind of elliptic, and they kind of needed like a gas mask to like breathe the air. So I wanted to kind of mess around with that kind of idea. These were just some like figure drawing studies for how I want the character to look. I kind of struggled with this one because I'm not really super into character design, so, but it was a good challenge. Oh, I guess we still need it this way. This was, we were learning how to do a certain type of perspective. I don't remember what it was called, but we had to draw like a full-on like grid that was pain, but it turned out really well. I think we were learning how to do these different like planes of the view so that we could draw it better, something like that. Yeah, that's the grid I had to draw, and then we were using that technique to figure out how to draw like a vehicle for that character. Yeah, I wanted kind of a aquatic kind of thing, so kind of with the steampunk theme. And then I think this must have been for a different class. This is probably typography. We were using illustrations to depict the word that we wanted to draw. So I did focus, I did build, and connect. These are kind of things that I personally prefer, like doing typography kind of stuff and hand lettering. So this is like right in my my wheelhouse of things that I like to do. So yeah. This was some sketching for see, we were doing, in my second painting class, we were doing illustrations of like buildings or like settings, and we had to draw like, or we spun a wheel for like the different, a few different prompts for our illustrations, and my prompts were Paris dystopian in 1920s, and I will insert a picture of what I ended up with, but I wanted to do like illustration of like the Eiffel Tower in kind of like a grungy, I guess, setting, kind of apocalyptic. I wanted to do like vines and things growing on the Eiffel Tower. I believe I have more sketches, yeah. And I wanted to have it so that the Eiffel Tower was maybe broken and that the viney things were kind of taking over. And then this was for, I believe, typography. We were illustrating an emotion, and so I chose grief because I thought it would be kind of an interesting one to do. I kind of wanted it to look like tears, but not necessarily tears, because I feel like it also can be kind of bittersweet, and like I kept it not fully like it's super like colored like water or anything, because I was like, it could be kind of like honey, because like grief also sticks around and it can be bittersweet, because I felt like kind of thick fluid, I guess, is what really encapsulates grief, and like it's hard to move through and that kind of thing. I really enjoyed that project. It was really interesting trying to figure out how to do that. And these are some sketches for the painting class, the second painting class that I took. And we were doing spot illustrations that we would use for a repeating pattern. And this is kind of where I figured out that I love painting, for one, and I love painting food. I also really like painting buildings, but I just knew I had to do something dessert related, and I had so much fun with this one. This was for a 3D design class where we were 3D modeling stuff, and so we were coming up with a character for that. So I kind of came back to that kind of alligator character that I had been inspired by the hole punch for. And I thought it would be fun if this character, like in his mind, he's like this super cool, like super realistic alligator, but in reality he's just this goofy little guy, not super intimidating or anything. I thought it might be kind of a fun graphic novel idea if I ever decide to do that in the future. But I believe that is the last page in this sketchbook. So I've been trying to edit this video for like, I want to say a couple weeks now. I am deciding that I'm going to upload it in 2 parts because it's like an hour and a half right now. So I figured maybe a little bit shorter would be a little bit better. So I appreciate you sticking around, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.